a bridge over troubled waters right over here, as you can see. Reflections. This is a really cool part of the Elvis Presley Park, where you can just sit back, relax, and just ponder on life and just appreciate the serenity of the nature around you. Just check out that waterfall over there. Very peaceful and serene. Greetings everyone, this your boy P9 coming at you with another video, and today I am in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm in Tupelo, Mississippi, which is the county seat of Lee County, and I'm gonna start things off right here on Main Street, over here by the Cadence Bank Arena and Conference Center. As you can see over there, that's the building for the Cadence Bank Arena. And it is home of the Tupelo Fire Ants and Mississippi Mudcats Arena football team. And there it is right over there, that building on the right. And it was named after the locally based Cadence Bank, which is headquartered right here in Tupelo. But guys, it is a really cloudy day, or cloudy morning. So these clouds are really heavy, and it's gonna look like a ghost town because it is early in the morning. It's 6:30. But hey, we here and we're gonna do a good video. And as you can see right here is the Tupelo Convention and Visitors Bureau. And right here is a guitar of the native son, Elvis Presley. We're gonna see a lot of him in this video. Legendary Elvis. And here is marker on the Mississippi Blues Trail, and here it reads Shake Rag, which is located east of the old M&O railway tracks and extending northward from Main Street, was one of the several historic African-American communities in Tupelo. By the 1920s, blues and jazz flowed freely from performers at Shake Rag restaurants, cafes, and house parties, and later from jukeboxes. While the sounds of gospel music filled the churches, the neighborhood was leveled and its residents relocated during an urban renewal project initiated in the late 1960s. So yes, there was a lot of displacement due to urban renewal projects that displaced a lot of residents. So as you know, Mississippi, it has a history of blues music, and if you guys saw my Clarksdale, Mississippi video, you will see that I highlighted that very vividly in that video. So Tupelo was also part of that blues music heritage in Mississippi. And as you can see right here, it's a mural of Tupelo. And there goes Elvis Presley with his arms spread out. Of course, Elvis Presley is the native son. He was born right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. Spent his early childhood here. And spent his formative years in Memphis, Tennessee. So, you know, you're gonna see a lot of Elvis Presley here, as I mentioned earlier. Let me go back real quick because I feel like I missed something. I just want to get the back of this marker right here. And it says right here, Shake Rag. Tupelo's blues legacy is perhaps most widely known for its influence on a young Elvis Presley who lived adjacent to the African-American neighborhoods of Shake Rag and On the Hill. A local explanation for the origin of Shake Rag's name refers people shaking their rags while fleeing a fight. The term was also used to describe African-American musical gatherings in the 1800s and early 1900s and may be related to Shake Rag's location next to the railroad tracks. So gambling and bootlegging were commonplace in Shake Rag, and although outsiders often regarded the area as dangerous, former residents proudly recalled its churches, prosperous businesses, and strong sense community, a quality highlighted in Charles Johnson's 2004 documentary about Shake Rag. So I gotta check that out. So as you can see, there's a lot of history involving the Shake Rag area, and Elvis Presley lived nearby. So he did live not too far from African Americans, and he was influenced by them as well. You know, he incorporated that into his music. But touring blues, jazz, and R&B acts performed elsewhere in the town at more formal venues, including the Henry Hampton Elks Lodge on Tolbert Street, the Dixie Bell Theater, the Lounge at Vaughn's Motel on North Spring Street, and the Armory at the fairgrounds south of this marker. So it's a lot to be read here. But here's some images right here. The Homemade Jams Blues Band. Siblings Kyle, Taya, and Ryan Perry of Homemade Jams were respectively just 15, 9, and 13 in 2007 when they recorded their debut CD. It was called Pay Me No Mind, which featured the instrumental Shake Rag. So yeah, I gotta check them out. I've never heard of them, but there's also Benny Sharp, who led an R&B band in St. Louis during the 1960s and later became a preacher and returned to his hometown of Shannon, south of Tupelo. And there goes the row of houses in Shake Rag. Willie Johnson, who sang gospel in Tupelo before he began performing blues in Chicago and Columbus, Ohio, under the name Willie Pooch. The John Lee Hooker song Tupelo, also recorded by pop staples with Albert King and Steve Cropper, was inspired by a devastating tornado that hit Tupelo in April of 1936. More than 200 residents died, including many African Americans who drowned after being blown into the gum pond just northwest of Shake Rag. Hooker had relatives in Tupelo and visited a cousin here named Richard Cummings. And there's also more history of Tupelo. You had the Chambers Brothers, who were a gospel group in Lee County, and they moved to California in the 50s. So there they go right here, Chambers Brothers, The Time Has Come, which is the album cover to their album. And here's Riley Riggins right here, likewise left Tupelo for California, where he recorded as Harmonica Slim. So this was even before the days of Stevie Wonder. Pianist Aaron Pinetop Sparks recorded the first version of the popular Every Day I Have the Blues in 1935. He and his twin brother, vocalist Marion or Milton Lindbergh Sparks, was born near Tupelo in 1910 and moved to St. Louis around 1920. So you had a lot of people who were heavily involved in blues music who were born in Tupelo, spent a lot of their early years here, and relocated to like places like California and St. Louis. So I had to go back and get that marker because it's a lot of interesting facts about Tupelo. So Tupelo was actually incorporated as a city in 1870. So it was incorporated after the Civil War. So it was one of those post-Civil War cities. And it had developed among the Mobile and Ohio Railroad, which spanned the states of Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Tennessee. So Tupelo was developed along that railroad, and before it became Tupelo, it was settled as Gum Pond. And there was a lot of devastation to the city in 1936. The city was only like slightly over 60 years old when that happened. So it was a lot of tornadoes that took place in the 30s in Tupelo. So it does have a history of natural disasters as far as tornadoes are concerned. And there were a lot of cotton mills that was part of the industry in Tupelo back in the 30s and the 40s and everything like that. Even before then, even during Reconstruction, you know, the Reconstruction era was a lot of cotton mills, and that is due in large part because of Tupelo's location on the railroad. And as you can see right here, I just passed by it, but this is called Hotel Tupelo. So there's a few hotels on the main drag downtown. Across the street over there is the Hilton. And further down this way, I see, looks like there's some homes being developed, some houses. So there's going to be housing developments like right next to downtown. So that's pretty cool if that's what you're into. And here I am in Tupelo's Fair Park. And here goes another marker commemorating Elvis Presley in Tupelo. And Elvis Aaron Presley was born in Tupelo, Mississippi on January 8th, 1935, to Vernon and Gladys Presley. So they were born in a two-room house built by his father, grandfather, and uncle. So they actually have a museum that's located in Tupelo called the Elvis Birthplace Museum, which I may check out later on. But yeah, this is this is basically a little childhood picture right here. Third from the left right there is Elvis himself. And it basically shows how he grew up being exposed to country music and blues music, R&B music to be more exact, and gospel music. So he was exposed to a wide range of music. The homecoming concert, September 26, 1956. So that's when he came back as a superstar in 1956 and performed in his hometown. So even the governor of Mississippi welcomed him, and he received the key to the city. Now, keep in mind, he grew up in East Tupelo, and he grew up in a poor family. You know what I'm saying? So he came from humble beginnings. But these are a lot of the songs that he was famous for: Heartbreak Hotel, Long Time Sally, I Was the One, I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, I Got a Woman, Don't Be Cruel, Ready Teddy, Love Me Tender, Hound Dog. That's probably one of his most famous ones, that and Heartbreak Hotel. So he performed all of these songs in his homecoming concert. And he was only 10 years old when he played in his first crowd on these grounds and took 5th place in the talent show. 11 years later, he returned as the king of rock and roll. Okay, so yeah, so there goes Elvis in a nutshell. And right here, as you can see, this is a statue of him with his microphone performing. And it's surrounded by this circle of flowers and benches. And it did rain here earlier, so if you see a little wetness right here, that's from the rain. And right over there in this building is the Tupelo City Hall. I think the overall layout of the park is really nice. And they also have a playground over there that I passed by. There goes the entrance on Main Street of Tupelo Fair Park. A lot of banks over here and insurance buildings, so it seems like this area over here is a lot of the office buildings and things of that nature. And that building right there is the headquarters of Cadence Bank, as I mentioned earlier, headquartered here in Tupelo. So I'm at the corner of West Main Street and North Front Street. This right here is the Tupelo Hardware Company building right here. There goes a guitar sculpture. And there goes a clothing store called Reed's over across the street, which was established in 1905. So closing in on 120 years in business. So shout out to them. Here goes a mural of Elvis right here. And this was done by Kit Stafford Arts, Kit Stafford Art, KITSTAFFORD. And there goes the signature of Kit Stafford as well. So gotta give credit to Kit Stafford for this beautiful mural right here. Goes Elvis again. I told you guys, we're gonna see a lot of Elvis. Lots of it. And there goes a mural. Greetings from Tupelo, Mississippi. This was also done by Kit Stafford. In this building right here on Court Street is the Lee County Courthouse. You see that building right there. So a lot of old buildings over here. So I'm on Court Street now, coming up on Broadway Street. I'm still over here by Lee County Courthouse. And this building right here is called the Lyric Theater, and it's located right here on Broadway. And here's a little history on the Lyric Theater. The Lyric Theater was built in 1912 by Mr. R.F. Goodlett. Originally named the Comus, it hosted live vaudeville shows. In the 1930s, it became part of the Malco chain of movie houses, and the name was changed to the Lyric Theater. Its sturdy brick walls made the Lyric one of the few buildings to escape the fury of the 1936 tornado. A popular legend tells Elvis stole his first kiss in the balcony of the Lyric. Okay, cool, cool. But yeah, this is the Lyric Theater. So it started off as a theater for vaudeville shows, and eventually it became a place where you can come watch movies. So it became a movie theater. And there it goes. Elvis enjoyed going to the movies, especially westerns, at the Lyric Theater. Friends recall how Elvis would climb over the divider in the balcony to sit among his African-American friends. The sweetest of the legends associated with this theater and Elvis is the rumor that he stole his first kiss in the balcony. So yeah, so I guess that debunks the whole notion that Elvis Presley was a racist because he was cool with African Americans, you know. But yeah, once I get to the Elvis Presley birthplace area, I'm gonna elaborate a little bit more on Presley. But for now, we just gonna keep it moving down Broadway. And if you go a little further down Broadway past this theater, you start to go more into like a residential area. It's like a little art museum of art called the Gumtree Museum of Art. And check this out. I don't know if you think that's a mural of the Native Americans. And there goes some flowers as well. And it has the date of incorporation, 1870, or the year of incorporation, 1870. Pretty nice. Let me see if I can find out who the artist is. Guess that's Lujan MJT. Nice work of art right there. Speaking of Native Americans, the indigenous people of this land were the Chickasaws and the Choctaws, who occupied a lot of, you know, the Mississippi territory, some of which will eventually become Alabama. Downtown Tupelo, Mississippi got the Great American Main Street Award in 2020. It does have a nice main street, that's for sure. They have a lot of these guitars. plastered along the streets. A closer view of the Cadence Bank building with the waterfall in front, or the fountain in front, whatever you want to call it. So this is Troy Street, where I'm at right now. And of course, here comes another F.W. Woolworth story in the 1960s, and which was custom during the time in the 60s. The five and dime stores were the site of many sit-ins and protests as far as the fight for civil rights. As the movement to resist segregation grew, the Tupelo Woolworth store lunch counter was a scene of local protests. While other sit-ins were contentious, the Tupelo events were peaceful. In 1964, the passage of the Civil Rights Act prompted Woolworth to announce now the company will be able to serve all its customers in all of its stores on a desegregated basis. The Civil Rights Act was momentous for African Americans. However, as in most of the South, it will be several years before full integration was commonplace in Tupelo. So, unlike a lot of other cities where there were Woolworths and sit-ins and protests, Tupelo sit-ins were rather peaceful. There was no police intervention or any of that. As you can see right here, it's a pretty cool little sculpture on the side of this building. It just basically has a bunch of like To Kill a Mockingbird, Good Old Boy, Sound and the Fury, Civil War, just a bunch of books carved into the side of this building. But you know, you have to keep in mind this is Mississippi, so there's gonna be a lot of books about, you know, Civil War history. And of course, To Kill a Mockingbird, the artist Harper Lee is actually from Alabama, so, which is obviously the border of Mississippi, the neighboring state of Mississippi, I should say. Here comes a railroad track right here. So a railroad that runs right here through Tupelo. And it was at this site where hundreds of Union prisoners were interned during the summer of 1862. So interned meaning held captive. Treated reasonably and guarded lightly, few tried to escape in an anticipation of being exchanged, as was common practice early in the war. They were kept in a wood stockade located on the west side of Front Street, slightly south of where you stand. Adjoining the stockade on the north was a separate enclosure housing Union sympathizers, bridge burners, and accused informants. They were held captive in a poorly ventilated store or warehouse. Okay, wow. So it was a very bloody sight, unfortunately. There's basically a lot of unmarked graves around this area. So it's a lot of dark history associated with Mississippi specifically, but the South in general, you know. So it is unfortunate that that took place. Obviously it's a lot of bloodshed, but that's part of the history, and unfortunately it must be told. And with that in mind, guys, this concludes the downtown portion of Tupelo, but there's more to come, so stay tuned. Hey, here I am on the grounds of the Elvis Presley birthplace, and it is essentially a museum in its own right. And I'm gonna start things off over at the Elvis Presley place by checking out this this vehicle right here. So this is a Plymouth, I believe it's what it is. Yeah, a Plymouth. This is extremely old school. Look at the grill on this thing. That's crazy. Wow. Huh. But apparently this is you can get tickets right here. You can purchase tickets for, I guess you can get a tour of the place, and check it out. So this is the actual birthplace. This is the house that he was born in, right here. This house was built by his father, his uncles, and his grandparents, his grandfather. And he was born in this house, as you can see, January 8th, 1935. Presley's career as a singer and entertainer redefined American popular music. He died August 16, 1977 in Memphis, Tennessee. So you have to have tickets to actually enter this house right here. But this is, yeah, it's a shotgun house, so it's extremely small. And it has a swing on the front porch, which is definitely common, especially in the South. And I read that the Presleys lived in this house during the first few years of Elvis's life, and they had to relocate multiple times throughout Tupelo, due in large part because they just could not afford to keep the home. And this is the Birthplace Park, which was begun with proceeds from Elvis, donated from his 1957 concert at the Mississippi Alabama Fair. And as you can see right here, now this part of town is called, this is part of East Tupelo. So it's the east side of the city. And this is a young Elvis right here. This was when Elvis was 13. And this is what's called Elvis Country. So he was raised in the country. He was first introduced as the Hillbilly Cat, then by RCA Victor as the hottest new name in country music. So he basically started off with country music, and then he eventually branched off into pop music and blues and rock and roll. Now, Elvis Presley is famously known as the king of rock and roll, but in my humble opinion, I feel like that title was deemed upon him by the media. You know, like, because Elvis Presley himself would actually, like, he would credit he had actually himself credited the king of rock and roll title to the legendary Fats Domino, to which he idolized, he admired a lot. And they actually did a collaboration. I heard it on YouTube the other day. It's called Blueberry Hill. If you haven't heard that song, you should definitely check it out. Really nice collaboration with Elvis Presley and Fats Domino. But as you can see right here, this is the Assembly of God Church, where Elvis Presley attended church. So it was literally like, it seemed like it was like right in the backyard of his home. And this was a Pentecostal church service, and this is where he basically fell in love with gospel music. And this is a picture of the original site right here. And I guess it was relocated in 2008 to this particular site. So the structure was originally located 1 block away on Adams Street. And the old church was moved across the street and turned into a residence. Okay, interesting. And here you have the outhouse. Outhouses were located away from the house or building that it served for sanitary reasons. The simple structure was referred to as a 1 or 2 holer for obvious reasons. Ventilation was provided by a cutout in the door or the side walls in the shape of a half moon, circle, or other simple shape. So yeah, there you have it. This is an outhouse. Guy Harris, who grew up on this street along with Elvis Presley, remembers outhouses from his childhood. We used the Sears catalog for toilet paper. There was no such thing as Charmin. Yeah, that's what you. Yay. This was back in the early days, man, the 1940s. So, yeah, toilet paper wasn't available in the conventional sense that it is today. You know, back then. Check out this fountain right here. This is called the Fountain of Life, and this water feature illustrates the years of Elvis's life, representing the traits of humility and generosity flowing together to form a complete circle. So Elvis Presley was a generous and humble man. He was born 1935, and he just shows a series of years of which he resided in Tupelo. So he lived in Tupelo for the first 13 years of his life until 1948, when he relocated to Memphis. And that's where he'll ultimately spend the rest of his life. And here's just some posters of just different people, like Henry Bubba Hellenstein, the late F.L. Bobo, recounted by George L. Booth II, and Joe Bitsy Savory. So this is just basically individuals who gave their personal story of them growing up, or them in their encounters with Elvis Presley. Now, that's pretty cool right there. It's a lot to read, but you have James Osborne. So a lot of these people just give their personal stories in their encounters with Elvis Presley. And also some people even talk about how they knew, you know, Elvis's parents. Hot buttered biscuits and Brer Rabbit syrup. That does sound good right about now, man. That was real. That's like a southern staple right there. Some hot buttered biscuits with syrup. For sure. Here's the, like, what looks like the back of the visitor center of the Elvis birthplace. And as you can see right here, it's like a really nice landscape park right up in here. This park is much bigger than I thought it was. Yep, right over here. Area over there, as you can see. All right. Go, guys. Got some steps to walk up, but this is a really cool part of the Elvis Presley Park. And it's just like looks like an area where with a bunch of benches you can just come up here and just chill out, you know. Let me go over here first. Let me see what this is. Looks like a pulpit. In his later years, this overlook became one of Elvis's favorite places to visit. It has been developed for the enjoyment of his friends and fans. It is a tribute to his artistry and the contribution his music has made to the world. August 18th, 1989, the Bertelsmann music group RCA Records, in remembrance of Elvis Presley, 1935 to 1977. So this looks like up here on this hill, looks like this was his favorite chill spot, which I can understand because you get a really nice overview of, you know, the trees and everything like that. And here's the couple of statues. There's a statue of Elvis as a little boy, and here's the iconic statue of Elvis. Looks like with a cape on. I guess that's what that is. I'm not sure. But Elvis at 11. January 8th, 1946, on Elvis's 11th birthday. So his mother Gladys on this day took him to Tupelo Hardware to buy a present for his 11th birthday. Elvis was thinking 22 caliber rifle or bicycle. Yep, just like a country boy, 22 caliber rifle. But yes, Gladys was thinking dangerous and dangerous. After a bit of crying, he was finally persuaded to choose a guitar. In fact, his only choice. The Presleys gave their son a $7.75 birthday gift and a priceless legacy to the rest of us. It was a gift that has kept on giving. Yeah, $7.75, people, was a lot back in 1946. So, yeah, and it was a great investment because look what he ended up becoming. His love of music was born in his Assembly of God Church in East Tupelo, where as a small child he sang "Jesus Loved Me" before the congregation. His pastor, Brother Frank Smith, taught him to play his guitar. His chords were D, A, and E, and the chords of Old Shep, the sound he sang in 1945 to win second place in a youth talent contest at the Mississippi Alabama Fair and Dairy Show at the Tupelo Fairgrounds. Growing up in East Tupelo, Elvis was surrounded by music. From gospel he heard in his church to country and western he heard on the radio from the Grand Ole Opry to blues he heard coming through the doors and windows of juke joints in the Shake Rag community, which we were around earlier today. We read about earlier today. He would combine all these forms into his own unique sound, a sound that would rock and roll the world forever. And here comes Becoming. The two bronze statues before you share one name, Becoming. They illustrate the transformation of Elvis, the boy to Elvis, the entertainer. Each figure represents the slice of life of the same man born on common soil in East Tupelo. The statues sit at the highest point of the property as homage to his beginnings. The statue of Elvis at 11 is life-size, while that of the entertainer is bigger than life, a fitting contrast to one of the greatest cultural icons of the 20th century. As a young boy, Elvis and his friends would run the hills and hollows of East Tupelo. Imagine that after one of those days, Elvis has picked up his guitar and walked up to the overlook for a quiet space, which is what we all need. His hair is mused. One sock has a hole in it, and evidence of the Presley family's poverty. He sits on a milk crate, strumming his guitar and looking down towards downtown Tupelo. Perhaps it was here that Elvis, guitar in hand, first began to dream the dream of a better life. His dream was realized in ways far beyond his youthful imagination. The overscale statue of Elvis, the entertainer, represents the finale of one of his performances. Arms outstretched, cape flowing, his head tilted skyward, signifying the end of his performance, but also symbolizing the end of his life. Elvis became a larger-than-life personality with a revolutionary influence on music worldwide. Yet, he always maintained his humble spirit in keeping true to his roots in East Tupelo. You can definitely respect that. And last but not least, the entertainer. Elvis's meteoric rise to fame was fueled by his natural music talent as well as his photogenic appearance and magnetic personality. All amazing gifts that lifted him onto stage and screen and crowned him king. He scored his first #1 single recording in 1956 with Heartbreak Hotel and went on to chart 17 more hits. He has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the Gospel Music Association's Gospel Music Hall of Fame. Even with his signature stage apparel and star apparel, as the eagle-themed jumpsuit on this statue will attest, worn in 1973 for his Aloha from Hawaii concert, Elvis chose the red, white, and blue eagle and symbolized America to his global audience. This was the first concert by a single entertainer to be broadcast live by satellite to millions worldwide, a star live from the stars. The dynamic combination of talent, charisma, and luck propelled a poor young boy from East Tupelo, Mississippi, to royalty as the king of rock and roll. Okay, so he had 18 #1 hits, 38 top 10 hits, 85 top 30 hits, and 80 weeks at #1. So Elvis Presley was doing his thing, man, for real, for real. And that's where it usually starts. It usually starts with humble beginnings and having a quiet space to hone your skills and to get into your creative space. See, I used to hear about Elvis Presley a lot when I was a kid, of course, in the history books, because he's way before my time. But Elvis Presley is most certainly an icon. I got a chance to listen to some of his music, and it's very relaxing. I mean, this dude, I mean, again, to be able to make the Hall of Fame in multiple genres of music, rock and roll, country, and gospel, you know, definitely attest to his versatility. So yeah, this Elvis Presley, R.I.P. to Elvis Presley. And with that being said, that concludes my visit to Tupelo, Mississippi. I wanted to cap it off with a visit to the Elvis Presley birthplace. With that in mind, if you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also comment if you wish to leave any comments. So that in mind, people, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Have a great day. Peace.